Hey, everybody, it's Father Edward here. And one of the things I enjoy doing, and hopefully you like it as well, is sometimes I release these little video interviews that I do, sometimes with producers from Hollywood of new movies coming out or other projects that are up and coming. And so today I'm very happy to be speaking with Erin Dooley, who is a screenwriter. And also, she enjoys hiking. She's a Catholic. These all come from her Instagram profile, and she has written a new podcast. And so a lot of times with podcasts, for example, I podcast and I interview people, much like I'll be interviewing her today. But that's kind of the basis of my podcast. But I have found other podcasts that kind of are thematic. They tell a story, they go from episode to episode, picking up where the story left off. And that's the basis of her new podcast called Confessions of a Catholic Single. And I'm very happy to be speaking with her today. She's going to share the inspiration really behind this project. So thank you so much, Erin, for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to chat.
And maybe just let's talk first of all, what inspired you to write this podcast? So to come up with a short episode. And the interesting thing, there are several episodes. You're doing a series on the seven deadly sins. So there's probably going to be 7 episodes in season 1. And they're short, they're about 10, 11 minutes. So it's not a big time investment to listen to. So what inspired you to begin this podcast?
Well, the germ of the idea is, lifted from experience of myself and friends being single and Catholic, and the main character is finds herself single after being in a 20-year marriage, and I also had a long marriage and that had ended, and so that the germ of the idea is from my personal life. And as far as making it into a podcast, I'd love it to be a TV show, but just to start and to get some interest, I decided to do like an old time radio show kind of feel and do these episodes, and just to get people introduced to the idea, because there is a little bit of a resurgence of that sort of medium as podcasts in general, like the interview ones have grown in popularity. There's been a few more of these storytelling podcasts that have come back to life. So it seemed like a fun way to do that, and a little bit easier on my budget to self-produce it with some actor friends that I knew, a lot of Catholics in the industry that I've gotten to know over the many years in Hollywood. So that was just a lot of fun to be able to let everybody in on the fun.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions I was thinking about, because you need to have a cast, so it's not just a one-person show. And you found some different people like Christine Jezik, for example, who I think plays the title character of the show. So how did you find these people? And you must have had to bring them together all at one time to record. And was it like, kind of going back and forth with the lines as you recorded?
Yeah, Katie Bonenhammer is actually the lead, and Kristen Jazak plays her sort of sidekick, if you will, her roommate. But yeah, the both of those are two of the main characters. And I have worked with Katie on a couple of other projects previously, and so I tell a story that I had actually made the title artwork with her in it before she even agreed to do the project, and then I texted it to her and I was like, will you be in this, because you're literally the poster child for it already. So she agreed. And yeah, just from knowing the different, pretty much everybody is somebody that I have worked with in the past, or just as a friend of mine. And for recording, some people had, during COVID, had left LA. So some people did record and send them their lines to me. But those were people, because some episodes, just have like 1 or 2 lines with a new character. So those were the people that I cast that were outside of LA. And the main characters, yeah, we had a recording session. We had one, because every episode opens and closes with a confession. And so those 2 characters, the priest and Cecilia, the main character, we had a recording session just with them. And then the main recording session was everybody else in it. And we just ran through each scene and they all just had their own mics. We were all in a room and they were each at their own mic, and we just ran through the scene, and I would give notes and just did it probably only 2 or 3 times because I had spoken to each one of them about their role and about their performance and everything ahead of time because I wanted to kind of nail it in the room.
You mentioned that each episode begins with a confession scene, and that's partly because you're going through this theme of deadly sins. And why pick that topic? Why do 7 episodes going through these deadly sins? So the first 2 episodes, which have already been released, are anger and pride. And of course, the confession then is confessing anger or pride, kind of setting the scene for what's to come.
Yeah, because I knew, I mean, when you name something Confessions of a Catholic Single, I had thought that was just, an interesting title. I thought it would get some attention. And then I was like, oh, well, I guess I need to show these confessions. And then it seemed like a good framing device for it. And then I wasn't sure how many episodes I was going to do at first. And then yeah, obviously like 7 deadly sins. I thought that was very accessible for even non-Catholics, non-Christians. They've at least heard that term probably. Even if it's just from the movie Seven, from whatever it was 30 years ago. So I thought, well, that can be a little bit of an entry point for people that are non-Catholic because it is super Catholic, but also there's plenty of jokes that anybody will get and enjoy. So I just thought, oh, that's kind of an interesting way. And I don't know if you're familiar with Father Brown, but I like that they really lift up confession in that series. And I kind of wanted to emulate that in a way to show, there's a devout woman and she goes to confession and she avails herself of the sacrament quite frequently. And it doesn't have to be, this huge thing like, oh, I murdered. So you don't wait till you murdered someone to go to confession. Like you just go to keep, sort of fine tuning your life. And so I did want to highlight that to show even, the venial aspects of each of the deadly sins, how that can enter your life and to really highlight that. And then it gave such an opportunity also to show the priest character, who is her best friend. They've known each other since they were 14 years old, and to show a different dynamic, to show the humanity of a priest, which I hope as a priest that, you enjoy that aspect of it and feel like I've handled that character well, because, I just really get sick of, the Catholicism in general, and especially, Catholic priests being the punching bag in TV shows. And it's so I wanted to, have a show that was the opposite of that, just showing humanity of the priest.
Well, that's great. And that's something I've written about actually, because a lot of times the priests in different television shows is just kind of a weirdo, odd duck. They're trying to cast the priest really in a negative light. So I appreciate that. And it's always nice when you see a good, wholesome portrayal of a priest. So, what has the reception of your podcast, Confessions of a Catholic Single, how have people received it?
Yeah, it's been really exciting because people that I don't even know have, left some great comments and reached out, messaged me and saying that they can't wait for the next episode because I released the first 2 episodes and then each one after that'll be weekly. And so they're like, is it Wednesday yet? I was like, oh, that's fun to have people, clamoring for the next episode. And the favorite, I think, maybe so far was one person left a comment, said that because every character is basically named after a saint, and they said that the saints in heaven who have characters named after them are probably like filled with joy because it's such a fun podcast. So I said, oh, that was a sweet thing to say. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
So this is season 1, and you're going to be releasing, just as you said, episodes on Wednesdays. Is that every Wednesday till you finish season 1?
Yes. Yeah.
And then do you anticipate a season 2? Have you already begun screenwriting it?
I haven't started writing. The only thing I've thought of is just other things for a season, whether it would be the Beatitudes to kind of work the way through, just the device that would be the theme of the next season. But yeah, the actors are all, they're on board if there's another season. So we'll see. Yeah, hopefully there's, continues to be a positive reception, and maybe we'll continue the story of Cecilia and all of her friends.
And you would consider that under the title Confessions of a Catholic Single, and just how that Catholic single lives out the Beatitudes, for example?
Yeah, yeah, and still, her confessing, so if she did it, if she falls short of that, or if it was like the works of mercy, or, there's obviously so many sort of numbered things because we love our numbers in the Catholic Church. So there's plenty of devices that I could use for that. Or just very easily would be the flip side, showing the virtues. Obviously every capital sin has the opposite virtue. So we'll see.
And if people want to listen to Confessions of a Catholic Single, this new podcast, what are some of the ways they can find it?
Yeah, it is. Well, it is now on Apple Podcasts. It is on Podbean, YouTube. It's on Google Podcasts. It's on a bunch of the different platforms. And my website is Dash Entertainment LLC, and everything is linked through that website as well.
Well, very good. So if you are looking just for a short little radio drama, Confessions of a Catholic Single might be up your alley, which you can find on any podcasting platform. Well, thanks so much, Erin, for sharing a little bit about this new project of yours.
Yeah, thanks very much for chatting.